You're looking to lower your car. Lowering spring, coilover, which way should we go?
I'm Damian Braze here with Steve Smith. Today we're going to talk about the differences between lowering springs and coilovers. Steve, what do we know about lowering springs?
Well, we know they are advertised to lower the car a given amount, whether it's 1-2 inches, maybe even more than that. Not too bad on the installation. You throw them in, it will lower the vehicle, and it can be an effective way to get the car down, the stance, the center of gravity down. You can pair it with a adjustable shock.
Sure.
And get the ride quality out of it, so it can be a useful tool.
What are some of the drawbacks of going with a drop coil?
The biggest drawback with a drop spring is that when you install it into the car, that's what you get. Where it sits is where it's going to sit. Now you can pair it with the adjustable shock like I was saying, but everybody has a specific height they want their car at. And this might do it, but it also might not do it. We'll get calls on the tech line about using not lowering springs, but maybe other factory springs that were made for, say, a big block car where you need to support a larger amount of weight, or you're trying to raise the front. You can go to a 6-cylinder spring in some cases and lower the car. The problem, again, comes back to wherever you set that car down, that's where the car is going to sit. There's no adjusting it. And so we'll usually find that customers will swap a couple sets of springs in and out, 2-3 sets of springs. By about the third set of springs, they're done taking this suspension apart, and they're ready to go to the coilover, which is easily adjustable. So now that we know a little bit about the lowering springs and when they might be effective and when they might not be, tell us about that coilover, Damian. That's going to save us a lot of trouble.
Well, with the coilover shock, we've got the threads on the shock here. That's going to give you your ride height adjustment range. We've got multiple different spring rates for different applications. So you want to lower your car a 1/2 inch, you want to lower it 1 inch, 2 inches. You've got the option to get that adjustment range with the coilover shock. Whereas with the lowering spring, that is what it is.
Yeah. The other thing is that many cars are not going to weigh the same amounts side to side. So you put a standardized spring rate or lowering spring into the car, and you still might have a situation where one side of the car is leaning, or similar to the ride height and the desired ride height. The coilover, you simply will jack up that corner, and you can level things out.
Yeah, cure the common Chevy lean. And then spring rate wise, we've got multiple spring rates for every application we catalog parts for. So if you got a stripped down drag car, maybe 1,500-1,600 pound front end weight, we've got a spring for that. You've got a twin turbocharged big block with air conditioning in your pro touring rig. We've got a spring that'll work for that too.
And the other nice thing about the coilover shock is that it combines the shock for the ride quality with the adjustable ride height of the coil. With a lowering spring, we've had customers that will get the lowering springs. They'll buy our non-coilover shocks, our Stalker Stars, and that can work for them. But if they decide that the ride height isn't quite what they want to go to the coilover, now that non-coilover Stalker Star shock cannot be turned into a coilover. It's buying another set of shocks, this one, to have the best of both of those worlds. So some customers will find that instead of swapping all these different lowering springs or factory springs, and they may have a nice adjustable shock, the time spent and the money, just jumping to the coilovers is usually a good bet.
Yeah, prevent having to buy multiple sets of springs, or even buy one spring, pull it out, cut it a couple times, and now it's too short and you're back to buying the coilover anyway.
Now, Damian, when you talk about spring rates, not just the ability to lower or set the car where you want it, but the variety and availability of our spring rates will also lend itself to different things you might be doing with the car.
Sure. So if you want to lower the car down, you want that pro touring look, but you're not going to be racing it. You want a good ride. You want it to handle well. Maybe you go with like a 400-pound spring in your street car. versus the guy that's actually going to be out autocrossing, road racing. You know, that type of car, you might want to have a firmer spring in there where it's going to ride rougher on the street and not necessarily give a comfortable ride. So having those different spring rate options paired with the adjustability in the coilover shock really lets you dial in your stance and your performance for how you're using the car.
Yeah, and for customers that are mostly street cars, but maybe want to go to the track more than twice a year, maybe do a little bit of competition, you can slightly soften that spring rate on your street car and get some better results at the track too. So the availability of all of the spring rates that we offer also lends itself very well to the coilover option for as far as just lowering a car.
Now you know a little bit about the differences between lowering springs and coilovers. Lowering springs might get you to where you want the car to sit, might not. Coilovers, you've got the adjustability to get your ride height dialed in along with the adjustable shock valving. For more information, please visit us at qa1.net or give us a call on the tech line.
And don't forget to hit our social media as well, and always go drive it.